Gonna give you a
Oh, I'm gonna preface this by telling everyone I like word enhancers, and I'm doing everything within my power not to cuss. So, like Trudy knows, like getting into this, I think she already I do use a lot of word enhancers, and I know it's distasteful to some people, and it is the most seasoned. I love cussing, so I will try.
No, please be as comfortable. We listen and we don't judge.
Don't judge.
Hey, welcome everybody. My name is Shamikia Williams. I'm a mental health clinician, and this is Reverb From The Heart. And today with us we have Gio. And something special about Gio. Gio is someone that I met while traveling, and not just while traveling, but also while on my own personal healing journey. So we have that connection as a whole. So, hey, what's up, Gio?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing
I'm
well.
great.
Okay, is there anything that you'd like to say to introduce yourself to the audience or to those who are listening before we get into a few questions that I have for you today?
The only thing I absolutely want to do is just thank you for inviting me into the space to talk to everyone. Um, Filled with gratitude for you for even thinking of me to do this. I very appreciative of it.
Of course, it was too easy. It was too easy to it was too easy to know that I would love to have you here, especially because of the connection that we share while in Colombia. So it was beyond just right, you know.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
of course. Oh my gosh, I remember. First of all, just I remember the first time seeing you, and I think you had like shorts on, and
I
that
always have shorts on.
so you had shorts on, a basketball cap. So this is because
Hmm.
Gio is growing out his hair now because he thinks he's a
Yep, it's all
he's a
grown.
Rasta man.
It's all listen. It's really long.
Hmm.
It's down to right here now.
Really?
It's really long. Yeah, I went back to my loctician, my original one in Miami last week,
Uh-huh.
and she hasn't seen me since June. I've been mostly in New York, and she saw me, and she was just like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, it grew really long." I didn't even reckon. You know how sometimes they'll do a video of before and after when
Yeah.
they're starting the locks and everything. I clicked on the video. I was like, "Wow, he has nice hair." I didn't know it was me. I was sitting with my cousin, and I was like, "Oh my god, his hair looks really nice." And then I was like, "It's you! Like, what are you doing? That's your hair!" Like, I can't like.
I love how you're seeing yourself in admiration, even though you didn't know it
Yeah, like I'm just like, "That's me." I was like, That's a lot of hair." I
was
was like,
you.
"What?"
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it looks nice too. I also like the gray here. It's like, oh, this is wise. This is a wise man in front of me.
I like the whole concept of it, the timing of it,
Mm-hmm.
the patience of it, like the self identity about it as well. So
Hmm.
I didn't know I would love this, like even this being a journey this
Yeah.
much. I thought I was just sort of doing something, and then when she locked it, I was like, "We're
Mm-hmm.
keeping this." Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Ooh, what type of tea are you drinking?
I'm drinking coffee. I'm drinking Colombian coffee because, as you remember, when I was in Colombia, I bought enough coffee to like for the U.S. I'm pretty sure they thought I was smuggling something because they scanned everything. I still have coffee from last year. Like there's a bag for every month, and I mixed lion's mane inside of it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see you. See that gray hair. Um. So, is it okay if I go into some of the questions that I have?
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. So, first question that I have for you, Gio, is what was a turning point or realization uh, that you made, that made you decide to begin your healing process? Was it a single moment, a series of struggles that was going on in your life, or was it something you couldn't ignore anymore? Walk us through it a little bit.
You know, Trudy, it is insane that I'm doing this interview right now.
Mm-hmm. I know.
And we'll
Mhm.
get back to why specifically, like, in a little bit.
Mhm.
But it is insane that we're doing this right now at this point where I feel the end of one journey closing. But anyway, it's
Really?
because I was pretty much, I wasn't suicidal yet,
Mhm.
but I was definitely in depression.
Okay.
And just something that you learn in terms of mental health, it's, once you stay in a state for too long, you know, the depression can lead to the suicide. And I started to even have the thoughts.
Yeah.
And like you go into the space of just like this apathy for everything.
Yeah.
And all this came after, of course, when my mom transitioned.
Mm.
So, just a little thing is that I typically hate this time of year. I am insanely proud of myself that I can even do this interview now because this time of year is very triggering. My mom transitioned on the 8th of November 2016. My birthday is November 10th, so I picked her casket out on my birthday.
Oh.
And uh her birthday is December 30th, and like this is definitely her time of year, the holidays, all of that. And the
Mhm.
fact that I could sit here and even have a full on conversation with you right now, that just goes to show you the leaps and bounds of how much therapy has helped me.
Yeah.
Like, I am really okay with just having the conversation now.
Yeah.
But just a few days ago, there was even more affirmation that I've come to a place of acceptance. And that's because I normally, when I dream my grandmom or my mom, I normally wake up with tears in my eyes, just even down to last month,
Yeah.
or just full on crying because the dream ends with the emotion of me wanting to hold on to them, or me telling my mom, hey, let's try this medicine to make you feel better. Like, that's
Yeah.
how it ends, like this, like I'm always trying to help them.
Yeah.
And when I saw my grandmom 2 days ago, I go, hey, what's going on? It's nice to see you. I'm like, what are you doing here? And it was this sense of intense acceptance. And she hugged me. And I said, oh my God, nice to see you. I'll see you again. Like
Uh,
in the state that I, along with therapy and just another part of spiritually, like I'm really in a place of acceptance where for now, my belief system, what works for me is that I truly know that they're around me. And like it
yeah.
doesn't make, and like I will of course have my moments because I
Of
still
course.
have triggers, of course. But like I'm like, oh, they're here. Like I don't need, and just waking up from that 2 days ago and now doing this interview, I'm like, I've accepted it.
Yeah, it reminds me of when we last spoke, and
Mm.
this was before the Beyonce concert, and
Yeah,
you had to head back to Miami for it.
yeah, it was my
But
yeah.
I remember, yeah, but I remember that time you were talking about wanting to accept it. So this is a complete different, what is that? Like a 180?
It's a 180. Yeah,
Is it? I don't know how
yeah,
those things work. But remembering back then that that's what you were talking about, getting to a place of acceptance, especially even in the beginning when we started, both of us being a part of that healing ritual, and
yeah.
now that middle point, and now kind of like getting this part of the story is so beautiful.
Yeah, they're really, and I don't like to count my chickens before they hatch, sort of thing.
Mhm.
Just that's why I haven't even spoken about. I've done ayahuasca twice after,
Mhm.
and like I haven't even spoken too much about those two experiences yet, because really, when it comes to mental health, it is not a sprint; it is a marathon,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I too well know the false start of thinking you're doing well.
Mhm. Talk a little bit about that.
Like, yeah, there was a point where, I feel like I had a big W when my mom had transitioned,
Mhm.
and I figured out renovating the top floor of the house with pretty much no money. And
Mhm.
I started Airbnbing at the time, and I could see the light at the end of that tunnel.
Mhm.
And there was this huge feel of accomplishment that, okay, I can live my life. And
Mhm.
I left the country and I like traveled and whatnot. And then it's like the long, there's long COVID symptoms, there's long depression symptoms, and there's this false start that you think you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then when life really hits you, all the emotions, everything start to churn inside of you. Like you break down.
Yeah.
And going into my second year of therapy, which was my third year of my mom transitioning, my therapist was like, "Oh, you don't understand. Your body will do things to protect you when you're
Yeah.
going through something." And that third year was the worst year because I was reliving everything. My brain finally started to process everything.
Mm-hmm.
And walking into the house, seeing anything, I was no longer living, let's say, in that year 2019. I was living in year 2016.
Oh.
And everything would play out, dates, waking up, going to the doctor. And the thing about, being my mom's caregiver, it was very graphic. She
Yeah.
she had cancer, she had a mastectomy, and I took care of everything. My mom didn't want anyone touching her, and I didn't want anyone touching my mom, to be honest. So like,
Sure.
there was a month of healing her wound and like dressing it and taking off. It was raw skin.
Yeah.
I had to drain her lungs.
Yeah.
Like when the cancer metastasized into her lungs, like it caused a drip, and I had to put a hose in my mom's lungs and drain it and do all of these things and show no emotion in that moment
While doing
while
that.
doing that. And then managing everything on top of that.
So what happened to all those emotions that was going on? Because
You don't
I
have
can't
time to
imagine.
think about it.
Mm.
I had to take care of I like, and it's not even to say I didn't want to think about it, but it's like I need to take care
Yeah.
of my mother. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
a natural instinct. Like, no, I need to take care of my mom. She needs this time from me. You don't really process yourself in that moment.
No.
And the third year, it finally hit. Like that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
Like all of that running to the ER, giving her like the last thing my mom did was vomit in my mouth. Like I was the one who gave her CPR.
Mm. That's a lot,
And
Gio.
when you start to process that, when your brain actually starts to process that, and the only thing I could similarly uh, give an analogy to is you ever did like math or you were in a chemistry class or you did like some sort of physics equation and you
Mm.
finally get it, or you're learning a different language
Yeah.
and you finally get it. It's no longer you have to think about it. You get it. And it was like I started to process it.
So over that course of time while you were taking care, you were your mom's caregiver. For the first 3 years, and after she passed, after she was buried and transitioned, what was going on in your world over that course of time? Were you still in survival, just still
No, I
participating?
was taking care of my mom. I didn't think about anything else. I barely went out. I didn't care. Like you see, like I had a very close relationship with her. So that was
Mm.
I had already that was already my best friend.
Yeah.
You understand? So like there was no FOMO, there was no I'm missing anything.
Yeah.
That was all I actually cared about. Like, I had a very special friendship, I want to say, because I my mom would have become my business partner in the future. I realized we communicated so much better than just the average person, not only as mother and son, but even as business partners. We never let anything get under our skin.
Yeah.
It was when she started dating, we would talk about our boyfriends, everything like that. It transitioned from mother and son to best friends relationship sort of thing.
So it sounds like your mom got a chance to know you, you got a chance to know her on the different layers of
Yeah,
human connection.
absolutely. Like it was mentally we grew together from childhood to adulthood. There was definitely a reciprocity going on in terms of energy feeding off of each other, especially like even as she got ill, there was a lot of things that she said to me that really pivoted my life in terms of understanding my own sense of self-meaning. And
Yeah,
now that I can sit back and like think about it today, like having someone stare at you and say, the day you were born, you changed my life.
yeah,
And then being able to grow and mentally perceive that so much of her drive came from me. And this house, this business that was left behind, and
yeah,
to live in a state of gratitude like, no, your mom did this for you.
yeah.
It is overwhelming.
I was wondering that, like how overwhelming that could be, especially that responsibility. Did you ever have to go through survivor's guilt in that process? Like, because now, is this your first time facing such a great amount of grief?
I wouldn't say survivor's guilt. I went through and transitioning out of what do you call that? Imposter syndrome.
Imposter
I
syndrome.
don't I
Okay.
don't think I really had survivor's guilt. I think I had I yes I did. I did. It's more so imposter syndrome. And
Imposter.
even why, like, a couple of months ago I went on my first date in 8 or 9 years because like I just didn't give a fuck. Like
No, no, no,
like
no. It's
like
it's true. You already talked about like nothing else
yeah, nothing else
matters at
mattered.
this.
My mom got ill. Like I just
Yeah,
didn't care. And
yeah.
right before she got ill, I was sort of dating someone, and but the year before she got ill, I was actually in a relationship. And the one lesson that I learned from that relationship, how I got into that relationship, I jumped from one relationship to the other, and just viewing the task ahead of taking care of my mom and when she transitioned, I said to myself, you will not be getting into a relationship. You're too vulnerable. You will go
Mm-hmm.
get a therapist. That
Mm-hmm.
I know what it is to get into a relationship when you're vulnerable. There's a lot of blind spots. You will let a lot of nonsense pass for the sake of having a
Mm-hmm.
warm body next to you. And you need that time to work on yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
even now, it is insane to me. Like, I live a completely different life. Like I can get up
Mm-hmm.
and travel whenever I want. Like even going out with someone, he was like he has to look at his schedule and do all of that. And like from that time of working a 9 to 5 to now being a full blown business owner and like
Yeah.
I do what I want. It's like, yo, oh my God. And one time this guy wanted
Mm.
to like get food for me. And I was like, I bit my tongue. I was like, I'll take, thank you. You see, when
Yeah.
you come from a place of wholeness and someone is offering to do something for you, it's very different because
Yeah.
now it becomes a privilege for you to do something for me because I don't need it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
allowing you to do this for me. That is a
Yeah.
very different optic
Very.
to come from in a place of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
It's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
a willingness. So just all of that's changed. That's why I even said there's imposter syndrome because I'm like, yeah, I had a huge breakthrough on my birthday. Just because,
This
yeah,
year.
this year I flew out to see my cousin. I just was like, I want to do shit. I want to go hiking with
Mm-hmm.
my cousin. And
Mm-hmm.
we were just talking about, and we haven't seen each other in a while. And this is my baby cousin that we grew up together. And he said something to me that became like the talk of therapy for like the past two sessions, because there's always, you have to always be willing to learn and always be willing to be teachable in
Yeah.
therapy, because just when you think you've overcome something, you realize that
Mm-hmm.
there's still learned behavior that you still haven't processed yet. And in junior high
Yes.
school, like, kids were very annoying, they picked on me a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Why didn't you just transfer?" And I stared at him. I said, "Why didn't I?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "I didn't want, my mom had a lot to deal with. And I didn't want to burden her with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to stress her out with anything else." I was a valedictorian of my junior high school. Like, straight, like, that's all to make sure that there was one less thing she had to worry about.
Yeah.
That mindset no longer serves me today.
Of course it can't.
That's why I bought the fucking washer and dryer. That was the pivoting moment. I was like, "Gio, you can buy this. There's no one you're stressing out but yourself right now." And that, I want to give
Yeah.
that as a clear example of iterations of things that when you don't deal with that, you show
Mm-hmm.
up as an adult with that. And it
Yes.
might not be the exact same situation, but it's the same solution that you try to solve problems with. And it doesn't
Yes.
serve you anymore. It will literally limit
Mm-hmm.
you, especially when it comes to business.
Especially when it comes to
You're literally thinking small and encapsulating yourself into this small minded mentality. And at that time, for survival, yeah, it did help. Like, it's whatever. I stayed out of the way, didn't want to cause anything extra. You don't blame
yeah.
people sometimes for the things that they did, but does that serve me now? No.
Mm-mm.
And that
Exactly.
mentality, it creates a frequency, which creates an action, which creates the way things and people show up around you.
Thank you.
And
Mm-hmm.
in that same trip, several people vibrated out of my life.
I
Like
can imagine.
full full live. I showed my cousin the
Yeah.
phone. He was asking me about like people and stuff. I'm like, look at what this bitch thought they could do to me. Look at, like, and in that moment I was having a breakthrough. I'm like, you know what? I don't even need to take this personal. What's actually happening is because my
Oh,
frequency is changing. They're vibrating out of my life. These were people
because they no longer serve.
these were people that met me, honestly. I don't even want to say I was at a low frequency, but when my mom transitioned, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
say there's anyone to feel there's anything less of themselves when they're grieving.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people that like you when you need them.
Yeah.
That is what they get their energy off of.
Yes. And I think I'm glad that you're talking on this because I don't think a lot of us realize that people gravitate to particular type of vibration or energy that we're in because they're there to benefit from it. Hmm. And so I'm glad that you're speaking on it. And so when you're now transitioning out of from where you were enclosing yourself because of fear of whatever the outcome could be, they were able to gather and receive from you without even thinking. And then now that you're able to realize the sense of freedom, you're able to recognize your choice, you're able to realize your autonomy, it does not serve them anymore. That realization of yourself, that realization of your identity, it's like they cannot take advantage of that. Not because they can't either, because you now have the discernment to recognize that that's why they're there. So you close out. And if they can't get it, they will then eventually, like you said,
They
vibrate
and
out.
some violently. some try to like
Revive me.
hook me, like say something to trigger me.
Mhm.
And in that moment, I like remembered what my mom always called me her little prince or her king as I was getting older. And like I looked at my
Yeah.
cousin, I was like, my best friend, I mean, because I had come back home, and I said, if my mom called me a king and really thought that of me, would a king respond to this?
Come on. Come
Y-
on. But and that's the thing. I think that there's a I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, yeah,
Did
I'd
you
finish
finish
the
your
thought.
thought?
Yeah,
Okay, so I think that's the beautiful thing about when people speak into you. Like your mom, she did a lot of that while she was here. She spoke into you, right? And then you have all these things around us that eventually contribute to how we start to perceive ourselves, and that lowers our identity. So I'm glad that you got to a point where where you thought to yourself, or you remembered to yourself, if my mom was willing to call me a king, she saw something powerful within me. She saw something of royalty. And if I understand what a king's responsibility is, am I playing that role now? And that realization, because once you start to ask yourself the question, you start to now have to take accountability for the actions in that present moment, and whether or not you need to
and
change
taking
it to
accountability is
become.
a habit. I don't think people get it. It is a habit. It is
No.
a habit. It's not like, oh, I want to take accountability. It is a
No.
practice that you develop, that it becomes your
Mhm.
personality. That, like, don't
Mhm.
contextualize it as anything else other than it is a
Mhm.
habit to show my character. And like as you
Yeah,
show that character over time, just everyone weeds out. They weed themselves out. You realize you don't need to
they have
interact.
to.
You don't need to pull left, pull right. It's just let them vibrate out.
They
Like,
have to. They
and
have to. Gio, what are they gonna do?
girl, listen. I like so I've never seen Game of Thrones, and I just got to season 6, and I think I'm gonna take a break and just rewatch the first like 5 seasons and start back next year
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's triggering me.
How so?
It's all of the like nepotism and the backbiting and the manipulation and the lying and all of that. Like
Oh, yeah.
I'm
That's a lot
really
of
getting
that.
absorbed in it now. And I'm just like, I gotta take a break from this because like it's making me want to revert to spinning the block on a bitch. like and I've come to the point now where just a couple of weeks ago someone like tried to like emotionally trigger me and I just like looked at my phone and I've like put it down. I'm like, oh. Like now I'm like, yes, I'm really getting involved in the character. I'm just like,
Mhm.
wait a second.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and I think it's good. It's good. What's the word that I'm looking for? For the sake of not finding it, your capacity to
Yeah, it's a
recognize
self-recognition is
when
the
you're
importance.
shifting
Yeah.
into,
That is
to be
yeah.
able to do that. A lot of people don't have that tool, and it's a tool that requires more work and
Yeah,
improvement
but
on.
it's a design. We live in a matrix that's
It's a
designed for you not to see yourself. That's
it's
all part of it
yes,
as well. That's what keeps them on the
yeah,
wheel and going in and clocking in and doing that. If the
yeah.
system designs you to not see yourself or to see the importance of self-awareness, you know, just even developing the property and having to buy different tools, all that played into me
Mhm.
to getting into therapy because as I bought more tools, it made it easier for me to get work done in the house. And oftentimes, like,
Gio, you're making a parallel here. It's such a beautiful parallel that you're giving. I really hope y'all are listening to what Gio's saying, because this parallel is
and
beautiful.
it's the same thing with your emotional capacity.
Same.
If you only have a hammer,
Yeah.
How
Hmm.
much work could you actually get done? You gonna hammer the paint onto the wall? You need to, like,
You're
everything
so silly.
needs different tools in order to meander in and out of emotional situations, and that is what depression is. And, in tandem, as I was phasing I won't say I'm phased out of my depression because I it's I've improved a lot, I'm gonna say that, and it's even why I haven't
Yeah.
said anything concerning my last ayahuasca. I just gave briefs because I am watching myself play out. What people need to understand
Yeah.
when you're dealing with depression, traumatic events, all of that, there is emotions inside of you that need to play out.
I'm glad you're touching on that because I'm very curious about what was your emotional state when you started therapy? What was
I was just
where
in a
were you at
complete state of
emotionally?
apathy and just also doing drugs, not for the sake of addiction, but for the sake of feeling something. You see, there
Mm,
was a relationship between me and my mom, a feedback loop.
okay.
There's a feed, and
Mm-hmm.
part of that loop, that circuit got broken. And the challenge now,
Yes.
when that circuit is broken, is how am I going to repair it and pull all of that energy into myself?
Yeah.
And what everyone has to understand, you have to get into the habit of showing up for yourself. You have to get into how do you self soothe? How do you deal with issues when they arrive? Because if you are
Mm-hmm.
constantly in a state of being violent to yourself and you don't treat yourself well and you don't talk to yourself well, then you are literally self destructive. What do I mean by self destructive?
Mm-hmm.
You calling yourself, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're a fucking idiot. You can't do this. You didn't do that. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Blah, 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 blah. You comparing yourself to other people, yada, 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 yada.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes all you need to do is say, hey, you put one nail in the wall today. Congratulations. Life is
Is that
life
what?
is a marathon. And
Yeah.
that 1 year turns into two, turns into three. And I'm talking about emotionally. And then when you're in therapy, you're regurgitating everything that's happening. You're revisiting it. That third turns into fourth, into fifth, into sixth, into seventh. And then there comes a point. I'm telling you what it feels like. It feels like you finally take off this heavy armor and you put it down and you step back and you're able to look at it. And what does that
Mm-hmm.
armor have on it? Your years of accomplishments, what you've done. It's you, it's your self worth. And you're able to say, in
Yeah.
spite of my mom transitioning in front of me, in spite of having to go to her in the hospital, in spite of seeing this, in spite of her holding on to you and crying, in spite of nearly losing the property, in spite of not having any money inside of my bank account, in spite of all of that, I made it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're
Yeah.
able to see that you did that, you're like, wait a second, I can keep doing this. You break down
Yeah.
so many things energetically that it's like one of the biggest things that we always worry about is how are we going to get it done or money or stuff. Shut up. That's not what's
Yeah.
going to get you
Yes.
through it. It's you. And now I look
Mm-hmm.
back at everything and I thank God I didn't have anything because I would have taken that money and do
Mm-hmm.
what with it? Like it's
Dude,
it
it would have been in reality, it would have been just unintentionally
right. There would have
used.
been no
I
energy.
mean, irrationally used.
They
Excuse me.
and the thing again is that I used to hate hearing people say this, but now I get it. Money isn't real. It's an expression. It's clay, and it's what you molded into.
Mhm.
It's what you take, and it's like having this life experience. Now it blows my mind because you realize every day we have choices.
Yeah.
Going
Yeah.
through life, hearing
Gio,
someone committing suicide, hearing someone going into a mental institution, like all of these things, and like look at myself, and I'm like, yeah, that's why you talk nice to yourself, because you know why?
yeah.
I decided to seek help. Now when something like happens, I look forward to relying on myself because I know I'm going to take the steps
Mhm.
necessary to get through the problem. I'm not going to keep
Yeah.
crashing out, and a good crash out is a lot of fucking fun. Let's be very fucking like, I love a good screaming, a good crashing out just to express the energy. But
Yeah.
yeah, you can't. Wow, people really. I remember one time I had a guest, and like talk about things being on time. It was the
Uh-huh.
second year I was running Airbnb, and he goes, "Wow, you have such a beautiful house." And he looked at me in all seriousness. This man came from Pennsylvania. I'll never forget this guy. And he goes, "I'm happy to see you're managing yourself." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "My friend inherited two brownstones and a few million from his parents, and he's in a mental institution today." Getting everything you want isn't always the answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I think a lot of people think that by getting everything that they want will clear out and make their life better. But if you are not in a place where you can manage that, it will only
There
crumble.
is no strength without adversity. And getting everything
Come
you
on.
want, it doesn't build any mental muscle. And people have to understand that. Now, because of everything that I've gone through, things bore me.
Yeah.
And I find myself taking things on to be mentally strong now and to work that mental muscle. Does that make sense?
Talk a little bit about
It's
it.
like we will complain that we want things easy all the and but you're not challenging yourself. And there are
Yeah.
times and situations that things happen to you for you to teach you how to be strong. It is like the magic recipe that you need. And like now it's like I'm phasing
Mm-hmm.
into a point
Mm-hmm.
into my life where I'm like I'm signing up for my classes, my this, my that, my whatever, because like I am now
Uh-huh.
in a space of gratitude and honor that I can now learn by choice and get ahead of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Privilege, as one might call it, for us in terms of a
Mm-hmm.
socioeconomic black culture
Yeah.
that we in certain circumstances
Mm-hmm.
don't have access to. Like now I take pride in knowing that I can learn more and do things more because it builds me. It's all about taking all the
Yeah.
information from outside and processing it inside.
Yeah. You know, Gio, I'm listening to you and I hear that you're talking a lot about how you're able to take on certain things to assist you with moving forward with and using it as best as possible, using those tools. Were there ever a point in your process that you felt resistant to this newness, to this transition of you to you becoming who you are right now?
Yeah, it's the imposter syndrome. Yeah,
What is the imposter
because
syndrome? Okay.
it's leaving yourself behind. It really it's internal. It's like, what is that? What did Nelson Mandela said? Like not to be gushy or whatever, but it's like our greatest fear is not who we are, but
Oh,
who we have the
okay.
potential to become without it. And it's now being in a space to access myself to say, Jerry, you don't
Mhm.
need to feel anything. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks about me. I don't, because again, once you have that longevity in life and you see people fall off and you see
Mhm.
people derail, and you're still weighing your course, shiny things no
Mm-hmm.
longer impress you. Shiny things are
Yeah.
explosions. And what are explosions? Quick and easy.
Mm-hmm.
Does nothing for me anymore. It is
Mm-hmm.
a marathon. And the excitement is it is crazy to now process and view my mom no longer just as a human, but this light of spiritual
Yeah.
energy, the ship that while she was here, she brought me into
Yeah.
existence and carried me, restructured energy around me, business wise,
Yeah.
financial wise, shaped me and left me still here, being able to carry on that essence. And this is why you come to, when you start to incorporate spiritual understanding into everything and you
Yeah.
start to make that connection, your
Yeah.
energy level changes because you tap
More
into
than
something
yes.
more than just you. When I now feel that light and that energy and know that that link of a chain came from that woman, from this woman, it humbles you, it brings you, it really lets you understand this is a fucking opportunity in what we call life.
Yeah, that's such a change of mindset. That's such a huge transformation of mindset
Yeah,
to consider when we start to consider the spiritual
it
aspect of all of this.
yeah. And there's sometimes a friend of mine came with me to do ayahuasca, and I think two others are coming with me the next time. And while we were talking in a group of people, this one person said, well, couldn't you just do that by meditating? And he was
Mhm.
being snarky, is what I'm saying. And I couldn't even feed into the energy because I couldn't even perceive him
Mm.
anymore. And it was like, you probably could. And I'm not saying ayahuasca is the end all say all of what to do for your mental health. I'm
Yeah.
just advocating mental health. And this is how I did it.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's it. And if I run the risk of looking crazy because I took a medicine that what you may call me being delusional,
Yeah.
I will gladly say that because there are people I will gladly advocate for it, live for it, because in my life, and I always preface myself, my perception of existence, it's given me a much better outlook, a healthier outlook on life, and I'll take it anyway. Because there's no better love than
Ooh.
Christian hate. People been advocating that for how many years, and how many billions of
Yeah.
people did you kill for that? People were
Yeah.
murdered, slaughtered, all of that. And you want me to pick that up and say I'm
Yeah.
not delusional with that nonsense and make me
Yeah, I got I got
I'll go
you.
chill out with the Native Americans and smoke some fucking
Uh,
weed any fucking day, all right?
yeah.
I'll I'll go
Yeah.
do that. How about it's okay.
You do.
I won't do you any favors, boo boo. I'll take my hand myself
Yeah.
out of your hands.
Yeah.
You're
It's
safe.
true. And it doesn't make sense
Like
to even go back and forth with
and
you.
right, and this is why you respect everyone and their belief system and why, and I'm not here to tell anyone what to believe in or how to believe in, or I'm here for you to
Yeah.
say self-maintenance. Figure out what works for you. And along that journey is I just tell people what works for me and
Mm-hmm.
how it worked out for me and how it changed my mind,
Mm-hmm.
my mindset, especially as a gay black male as well. Uh, just one of the second time I did it, and like it was insane when I was ending the the ceremony. I like whipped right back into a trance, and like my eyes locked in onto the sun closed, and I felt the warmth of the sun, and like the warmth was literally telepathically
Mm-hmm.
talking to me, and It was source, it was God, and it literally said to me, "You're my child. I made you
Yeah.
exactly the way I wanted you." And it just, when you deal with what's labeled onto you, because I don't even want to claim it as being a gay
Hmm.
person in this society. From that age, you're already starting to tweak and contort emotionally and close yourself,
Hmm.
your
Which
identity
is the
off.
design.
That is the design. So you already are dysfunctional. Literally, you are dysfunctional. You're not able to energetically express your true nature because society is telling you
Yeah.
something's wrong with you. And what that does is day by day, it builds and you become
Every
that
single day.
lesser identity of yourself. My hair,
Yeah.
all of it. It was told
Yeah.
I can't have it. I didn't grow it out when I remember distinctly my ninth grade conversation with my mom about hair and keeping it short
Yeah.
to look professional. Meanwhile, what you're doing is you're disrupting
And
my
yeah,
actual
of
identity
yourself.
and what I naturally look like and what's my natural beauty. So there's no need at that point to make that person
Hmm.
even feel any more less of himself when
And once
society
they
took
take
care
care
of
of
that.
it, you start to now do it yourself.
That becomes your identity. I don't do that. I don't do this. You trim your hair every week like a
So
fucking lawn.
stingy. But it's true. Everything that we do, we start. That's why it's so important to start to question, no matter what it is, to question whether it's something that you actually want to do or not. Is this who you are? I ask my clients quite a lot of times, "Who are you?" And they get stuck on that every time. Who are you?
Trudy, I can look at you now in all honesty and in all heartfelt warmness and see a reflection
Mhm.
of myself finally. And who are we? We're reflections of each other. And if everything about us has been stripped and taken away, how do we identify
How
and see
could
each
we?
other anymore?
And it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of breaking apart. It's recognizing that you are a part of the you are on the wheel. You are running on the wheel. If you don't think that you are, then
Trudy, when you hit the search
uh-huh.
engine on Instagram, now it's always black hairstyles. It's always dreadlocks. It's always that. And just even
Yeah.
that was a breakthrough because I was like, wow, I didn't even see how beautiful I was all
Mm.
this time. Because now my imagination, I'm like, in one more year, I'm gonna look like a 30-inch
Mwah.
bust down weave baddie. Like, you hear me? And it's like I'm looking at all of these hairstyles, and it's like I'm building
Yeah.
excitement for me.
Hmm.
And if you collectively have a culture that doesn't see it and you suppress them, you
You
get
get
the
the dysfunction.
dysfunction. And then you have people like in our I'm like, you got time to argue about who a fucking man is fucking? We like, get out my face.
No, it's true. It's true.
You're so concerned
Thing.
about the wrong
Yeah.
thing. And all of that serves collectively. And it's like, it's now finally, now that I see myself, it's like I think I only exclusively have gone out with black men now. And not out of anything for anyone
Reflection.
else. It's like of course I've dated everyone. It's just like I'm falling in love with
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm looking for myself. It's like like it's like nothing feels like us. Our skin is amazing. Like it's like you see yourself finally and you're like, "Oh my god, this is why everybody
And
wants
want to be a
us."
part of it.
Like what better way to keep us from
While
ourselves than to hide
stealing.
us
You
right
talked
in front
about
of
it
each
earlier,
other?
Gio. When we don't know, remember earlier in the conversation, you said that when you weren't at your best, when you didn't realize that you were that king, people could come in and they could steal. That I'm not gonna call it anything else, but they could steal. And they could steal what the energy that you have, they could steal whatever you possess, they could steal all of it, your spiritual connection to yourself. They start to steal that. They may not know understand the value of it, but they're grabbing onto it because they see the light and they see how you're reflecting.
No, they
And so now what you're talking about is basically, if we as a community aren't able to see ourselves, know ourselves, and to be able to identify with ourselves and tether ourselves in that spiritual aspect of things, who's stealing? Who's stealing? Everybody else that wants that recognizes the value that we don't know yet, because what are we busy doing? We're here, and by design they've already told.
in survival mode, like not any, like even speaking of the survival mode thing, like coming out of that 2 days ago, having that dream, it's another form of I am no longer in a
Yes.
survival mode.
Ooh.
Like I can breathe. I can look and honor my mom and my grandmother
Yeah.
and like in full heartfelt awareness have gratitude for them moving through this plane and bringing me here
Yeah.
into existence and seeing actually how much of a big deal that is, how much
Yeah.
I matter, literally matter, like how much I
Gio.
actually fucking matter,
A-
like what the fuck.
and and it's a tooth
Like,
the play on, but like, and I think, and so it's so great to see you in this state, Gio, because I, from our conversation, I think it was last year or so, and where you were even a year before that, because I feel like this is our third year, and every year we have like this update of life. It's very interesting, but to see how you're talking now, I can tell that it's completely different. It is completely different in your transition, and I'm glad to know that you have, your mom has done so much to pour into who you are, the man that you have become and continue to become. The part of you realizing that if she sees me in this capacity, I need to start to see myself that way too. And as you start to see yourself as the king that you are, as the person that you are, as the spirit that you are, then you start to slowly or aggressively unchain yourself from all this design as much as possible, from coming off the wheel and starting to live into your freedom, which is what you're talking about.
yeah, Bob Marley, emancipate yourself from a mental slavery.
So
Truer words were never sung. Like, it is a very true
mm-hmm.
statement. Like it is a complete psychotic redesign of yourself that takes time. It's a habit. It's a, a friend of mine, and I'm gonna make a video out of it next year. Down the block, she gave me a time plant,
Mm-hmm.
another play on words, and I came inside, and my best friend lives
Mm-hmm.
downstairs from me. And when I got the
Yeah.
plant, it was like this. Now it's broken into three stalks
Oh,
this big. And it was just, again, a reminder. Several things. Be aware of the energy that people give you,
mm-hmm.
because that's
Yeah.
what grows. And also, what you water and what you give your attention
Yeah.
grows. You're not going to be able, we are literally a filtration system. You have to really think about it. You just put a net in the sea, it catches everything inside of it. And you have to have the discernment to release things, and what serves you and what doesn't serve you, because what you water, it
Mm-hmm.
grows. You worry about your problems, that's the prayer that
Yeah.
builds the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. And whether it's something that you're aligned with or unaligned with, it's gonna grow. Whatever the energy that you're pouring into it is gonna happen. So, Gio, while you're in your healing process, are there people in your life that has been supportive of that journey, or people that you?
Yeah, those are the only people I think that are left. Yeah, yeah. It's and you learn to recognize when the universe is sending you
Yeah.
someone. The day my mom got diagnosed, a friend of mine from upstate messaged me. Never spoke to
Mm-hmm.
this guy. We were just friends on Instagram, and his parents had transitioned. Both of them had transitioned from
Yeah.
cancer, and he messaged me that day, and I said, it's funny that you messaged me. This is what I'm dealing. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
process it, and the universe was just opening something to usher me into what was about to be this
Mm-hmm.
journey. And now a friend of mine just lost his mom
Yeah.
last year, and a couple of weeks ago, when your discernment reaches a level, it's like you what really happens is you energetically tune into the
Yeah.
person. And when someone's going through something, especially similar to what I've gone through, you can't hide from me. And like he called a couple of other friends and they were giving him the wishy-washy sort of advice. And I was like, that's a bunch
Yeah.
of fucking bullshit. You're looking for
Yeah.
closure and you're not about to get it. And I wasn't being mean, but I
Yeah.
laid into him. And I knew it was time for him to
Yeah.
hear that. There's no coming back. That's it. What you're looking for is you're trying to justify a reasoning or whatever in this situation with this
Mm-hmm.
person to compensate for the reasoning you didn't get with
Yeah.
your mom. You're trying to do it. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's done. You're running away from it. And I'm on the phone here with you because the universe will talk through your friend to tell you, it's all right, crash
Yeah.
out right now. And he started crying. And I was just like,
Yeah.
this is it. This is
Mm-hmm.
depression. It is a roller coaster ride that it straps you in, not with one strap, with like 50 of them mofos, and you want to
Yeah.
get off. And when you're ready to get off, it's like, nah, we gotta go. No, we about to spin the block. No, you're about to, and
Yeah.
that is it. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is it. And someone had phased out of his life that he
Yeah.
really loved. And I said, this is what it costs you. We're all reflections of ourselves. And depression steals you of
Yeah.
your joy. And when you start seeing people leaving your life, it's not necessarily them, it's a reflection of you. How many more people do you want to see leave? How many more fun times and adventures do you want to miss out on? It's
Yeah.
your choice. This is what it does. Depression, jealousy, hate, all of that, it robs you of your happiness. And I could sit here and get upset when I see a mother and son walking down the street, or a son buying his mother a brand new car, and ruminate over all of the things I never got to do with my mom. Or I can just have
Yeah.
gratitude. And it is hard as fuck to remove those
Mm-hmm.
anchors because they go
Mm-hmm.
deep. It's not just a memory, it's life goals and things that you had planned with the person that you feel robbed of.
It's a great loss.
And
It's a great loss.
but it's also a great moment of gratitude to
Absolutely.
have. It's a constant reminder to treat those that come into your life with gratitude and love.
Mm-hmm.
You're only here for a time
No one knows
period.
for how long.
It's a
So,
You don't. You really
mm-hmm.
don't.
So I think I like what you're saying, that it comes a point where there's gonna be that person who's gonna come into your life and tell you what you actually want to hear. Because there's people that come in and they say the fluff stuff, you
Yeah. There's no
know.
fluff with
I know
me.
that. Yeah, if you don't know Gio, there is
there's
no fluff. There's nothing but
there is
the
no
truth.
fluff with me. It is very
Yeah.
penetrating. because I've
Yeah.
lived it. Like I've lived it. I've put down my phone from like social media a little bit because I don't know what it is, but this time of year, it is the window, it is the portal where a lot of transitioning happens. And every time I open my social media, someone's parent, whatever, they've transitioned. And that's their
Yeah.
exit time. There's nothing else to say. And they're now on their
Yeah.
journey of
Yeah.
gratitude.
And finding good
Yeah, I
books.
don't want to call it I don't want to call it anything else. It's a journey for you to understand what gratitude is. And I give one of my friends, the one that his mom had passed away. I know when to say and end the conversation with gratitude. There are times where I just like, I'm not gonna give you the gratitude talk today. Fuck it, cry.
Yeah,
'Cause I
yeah,
get it. Because sometimes
yeah.
you need to
Hmm.
fucking crash out. The reality, I'm not gonna tell someone to stifle their
No,
emotion.
no, yeah.
Just not.
It's absolutely best to honor it by letting it come, because if it
Yes.
doesn't come up,
Yeah.
it's the teacher. The emotion is a teacher. I'm having this emotion because what do I need to learn from it? What am I stifling? And because if I don't, then I'm pushing it away when it needs to teach me something. And whatever darkness, whatever thing that I have to go through to learn and understand that gratitude, it's gonna come up. And so it's really great. Cause one thing y'all have to understand about Geo is penetrating, yes, but he's also, what I've understand is that you are also someone who penetrates with empathy, empathy and kindness and
Yeah.
compassion. And so when he speaks, he's speaking directly to your heart. He's speaking directly to your spirit. And it's a very deep openness in that interaction that you'll get with Geo. And I know that because I've had my personal conversation with Geo, and I know what it feels like when he meets you wherever he needs to meet you and say whatever he needs to say to you. And you're gonna leave there thinking about it. You're gonna think about it, bro.
No, that is definitely very true. Now, especially, I don't go in uh guns blazing with everyone.
Mhm.
It's really when I see when someone's talking to me, I'm just reading them. I'm reading their body posture. I'm reading like cuz and when you deal with it yourself and especially like now doing ayahuasca and knowing what emotion is
Yeah,
energetically, we store things emotionally
yeah,
energetically and knowing what like that was the lesson that I learned from that I can look at someone I could feel through
yeah.
every it is the most insane empathetic thing that I can do now when I like look at someone. I don't know who you think you're fooling.
No, but it's true.
It ain't me.
It's true.
It
I
ain't
can I
like
will
I'm like
not deny
I
it.
can literally
Yeah,
feel it coming off of the person and that in its own way that's that spiritual thing, gift, whatever discernment that we all we need to learn how to tap
yeah.
into. Or if you choose to, again, you don't have to.
It's
That
your
is
choice, your free will.
that's your choice.
Hmm.
I've just learned that when I've connected
Hmm.
spiritually, my perception enhances tenfold
You know,
because I'm no longer just seeing what's in front of
yeah.
me.
I'm very curious, Gio, is you've been talking about ayahuasca, and I'm not sure how many people is familiar with ayahuasca. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about it without having.
Oh yeah, it makes you trip fucking dick.
It's
It makes you trip the fuck out. It's a Native American drug. That is in layman's term, like to keep it a buck with everyone. The shit will have you tripping the fuck out. And like for everyone, like we're gonna give it a buck.
yeah,
I guess people have done recreational things here. You know, you dose it and
yeah,
you do it every hour, and the more you do it, it sinks into you more.
yes.
And it shows you energy. It shows you things
Hmm.
energetically and what it looks
Hmm.
like. And you deal with
Deal with
yourself.
yourself because it's gonna put it in front of you.
Yeah. And it gives, but it only works. when you're ready to let go.
Yes. And you remember that time? I'm sorry, Gio, but you remember that time? I think we were there and someone had came to the event late. A couple.
Not only do I remember it, yeah, I told him when we went outside, like, because I was fucking tripping balls, and I was like, "Hey, I don't know what just told me this, but it's like you're full of shit, and you need to come
You
back
didn't
and
go.
leave when you're ready."
Oh, you
But I
did?
told, we were sitting outside, like, "Yo, I'm scared to like even say how I became fucking clairvoyant. Like it was crazy. I like you couldn't touch me because then I could see into your life. I was like, this is wild.
Yeah, Gio was having. I think it's amazing how everyone in that room was having such different experience each and every.
Ev- yeah,
But that guy got the boot. They're like, you can't be here.
you
You
can't
have
be
to
here.
come back.
You're
This is not just for fun.
you're, you exactly he. And not only, I mean, if he came there just for fun, it probably would have been better. He came there on some bullshit.
Mhm.
You get what I mean? Like it's just the point of the medicine is to teach you how to let go energetically. One of the very clear moments that I had was where like I had my mom's energy on the right and my dad's energy on the left, and both energies represent something very different to
Yeah.
me. And like the spirit guide was like, if you don't let go of love, it turns into hate.
Mhm.
If you don't let go of hate,
Ooh,
it's gonna be uncontrollable.
yes.
You're here to experience this
Yes.
and learn about it. And that's
And
it.
that's it.
Stop attaching yourself to it. And when you release it, it's like this dam opened and like energy flows through you. It really is. When you attach yourself to something,
Mm.
you dam yourself up like a
Yeah.
with water. Like you stop everything from
Mhm.
moving, and you're not here for just the experience of having a
Yeah.
parent. Everyone comes into this life for different experiences. You pass through here for very different
Yeah.
experiences. Enjoy it.
Live, drink, be merry. It's the moment you start to
Yeah,
attach yourself to these identities, these labels, you're losing out on an opportunity to learn what it is that you need to learn. And so,
yeah.
I
And there are natural laws. The guy that just got shot from the healthcare
oh
thing.
yeah, I heard about that.
These rich people are gonna find out it's not money they're storing, it's energy that they're storing.
Mm-hmm.
And you try to hold on to that like that, every cause have an effect. You're gonna get shot in the
Oh
head.
no.
You can't like the dam is gonna break,
Yeah.
and it's like it's funny we could talk about it now as someone getting shot, but energetically, what I saw was a dam being forced
Yeah.
open.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with healthcare for people.
No.
It's going to
You said it.
when you see things energetically, it's like, oh, this world, as fucked up as it is, it actually is working
It's
properly, and like the
ooh.
karma will come
And
back.
and they, man, Gio, you're getting me excited, because everything is a cycle, and we all are contributing to the energy of this society,
Yeah,
of this world, of this planet. And so whether we think that things are out of whack or not, it is working because that is the
no.
balance of how it's supposed to be.
Puff Daddy in jail, all of that stuff. It's like, and you know that he's just the lower hanging fruit of others that are scattering right
Mm-hmm.
now. But, those people which we perceive as happiness and richness in this world, it's like I no longer even want to be a part of that.
No,
I don't want that type of life to be looking over your
all
shoulder
the
every
time.
day, to be concerned about someone, to be walking around with
Just
security.
in fear all the time. We first of all,
You get
I already have enough fear just being a regular person. You know, so to having to be in such a huge role or being a I'm sorry, a helicopter coming. So to be in such a huge role where you play such a big deal in how people perceive themselves, because everything is every place that you sit in. So even me as a therapist, it's important the way that I carry people. It's important the way that I show up for people, because if I don't, I can cause that person to lose sight of wherever it is that they need to go. If I'm not good within myself, If I'm not good in my identity of myself, I could create something that I will have to eat later if I'm not careful. So we all are playing a role in each other's lives to get us to where we need to
And that's not saying you're trying to be a people
be, you
pleaser. It's
know?
just you're putting in place a system for yourself
Hmm.
that's predictable and other people can follow.
Hmm.
And don't beat yourself up, Judy. They're not going to be able to perceive it and understand it.
And
But it's as long as you're creating something, a conduit
mhm,
or a bridge to lead someone from one side to the other of self efficiency.
yeah,
Essentially you're the training wheels for them.
yeah, and
What you ultimately want is for that person to set themselves free and to go fly and to not need you.
exactly, exactly. And so it is a moment of realizing that I cannot take the wheel and put them on it and then tie their feet on the wheel. It's something that they have to see for themselves. And so getting to that point and that healing, the healing process, the healing journey have allowed me to be at ease whenever facing
Yeah.
somebody and just like, okay, they're here, but it's not their time yet. To be able to see that, because I see
To
people come
feel
and to
that
feel that, it's
and
like,
to be at comfort with
and to
that.
be at comfort with that. Exactly. So it's like sometimes I'll see them, it's like, you're not ready. I'm here for a reason, and I know why I'm here, and I know why you're here, and we can work on it. But if I get to a point, let's try. Maybe you need to go here and work on this a little bit, and then we can come back. If you find that I am still necessary for your process.
And there's some things that you realize. It's like sort of like parenting when my one time my mom let me get burnt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have to. You have to. It has to hurt
There's
sometimes.
some lessons you're like, oh, you got to learn that. All right, go ahead, boo boo.
Yeah. Um
Go ahead and get them 5-degree burns. Go ahead.
I'll be here and I'll nurse you back. You see how that
I probably
felt?
won't nurse you.
You
I'll tell you where to get the
and
bandage and
then-
do it
and
yourself.
then-
Especially if I told you about it. I'm like, you know,
and that's
you'll be
and
alright.
that's the cool part about like the different people that will show up in your life. um
Yeah,
so outside, so you've talked to them on therapy, I realized that, and I'm gonna see what I can think about. Like when you talk about healing, therapy is a part of it. Your experiences are a part of it. People that are in your life is a part of your healing. Also, it sounds like you're talking about too. And ayahuasca has been a part of your healing. Is there
yeah.
anything else that has also played a role in you becoming and your
Uh, not
dreams?
that I, not that I perceive as of yet, or that I know of, or I can articulate yet. There are other psychedelics that I want to use,
Hmm.
eventually. But I do understand that I'm capable of one using therapy as a form of language to articulate myself, using ayahuasca as a form of spiritual
Yes.
continuation to release myself.
Yes.
Like, does that make sense?
Makes
Like,
sense.
I feel like for anyone, therapy will do so much, but
Hmm.
when you incorporate a spiritual belief into it, like I no longer, I don't believe when you transition out of here, you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just that one thing changes your entire perception of you. For me now, I feel like I'm in a very infinite space of how can I say, of patience.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm no longer rushing. I'm like I have infinity to get where I'm going through. Like it's okay. I don't need to rush through this.
Yeah.
And because I understand consequence,
Mm.
consequence serves a very good role.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are consequences for me not working out.
Hmm.
I won't be able to maneuver or to live in this temple and exploit it to its fullest potential if I don't work out.
Yeah.
There's so much more happiness that comes from being healthy because I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
I can move around so much better. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, why? And that's the purpose of consequences. You see why
Mm.
things serve a role. It is to serve you.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's why there's consequences. That's why there's cause and effect. And because of that, like I look forward to my next thing to learn with my body. It's something to explore emotionally, sexually, spiritually.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things
It's
have
so many
gone out the
things.
fucking window with me with like just like other stuff.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, y'all listen, this how did we get here as a society? Like we could be enjoying so much of
It
life
can
and you got niggas paying bills?
be. But
Like,
ultimately, like we have both already said, it is the process. It is the
yeah,
process, and everybody is coming in here to learn something, to meet people that's gonna assist them on their journey to becoming, to explore this freedom, and that there are things that's gonna be favorable in your process, and there's things that's gonna be
yes.
unfavorable in your process. But if you stick the course by taking accountability and responsibility, by recognizing the gratitude in the experience, and
Mm.
then just continuing to go, and to learn to appreciate the consequences and realize that it's not against you, but it's in support
It's
of
literally
you.
for you to show you, like, hey,
Hmm.
hey,
Exactly. So when we do all of that, we are literally walking the path of the journey, so that we can continue to, like you said, to live beyond this life even later, to grow in
yeah.
patience, to grow in everything that we can do in this moment.
And that's only if you incorporate something spiritually. I always
Yes.
preface that
Thank you for adding
because,
that,
like,
Jill.
because there's this constant ad lib that I want to put or fine print that I always want to tailor with anything. It's up to you, because there are people that don't believe in any spiritual thing that I want them to feel comfortable knowing that you're entitled to that. And if
Yeah.
that works for you, I am happy for you.
Mhm.
My main thing is that I want you to feel comfortable and not ashamed at exploring your own mental health. That is bottom line it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just I've noticed when you sprinkle the spiritual magic voodoo voodoo on it, it gets
It gets a
crazy. Serendipity
what it
is
does.
wild. Like
Yes.
the way things have worked out for me, that I'm like, listen.
It would be it is absolutely wild to go through this process without recognizing the spirituality of it, whether you are Christian, whether you are Islam,
Buddhist,
whether
whatever it is,
whatever
like,
it is, that spiritual connection is going to be supporting you of where you need to go to. It also gives you purpose in it. It's because if we are all born of spirit and soul, if we are ignoring that part of us, we are also ignoring a huge part of our identity and our makeup.
yeah, it
So
really it is the energetic dysfunction. It's a lot of like now that I like tap into it, like, and I can perceive that energetic
yeah.
flow.
Yes.
You just feel different
Different.
inside. Like it's just like
Yes.
real. Like you show up, you like you work out better. You articulate yourself better. Your energy's
Yes.
like sex is better. Like
Better.
yeah, because it's like you're expressing yourself to the fullest extent that you can
Yeah.
in that moment, and there's a freedom, and you're no longer ashamed, and you realize all of those shame things that are you're like,
Holding you back is
and then you
for
find out the priest is sleeping with this and that, and
come na, Gia.
and then like
And you start to realize that they participate in some of these things while telling you not to. And let's be clear, not everything, not that. Let's be clear, not everything that people participate in is acceptable. But
no, it's not. It's just what you become. You realize is they're energetically hijacking you and using you.
and using you, yes.
That's what it is. You're like, oh, you're literally, and then you get United Healthcare.
Yeah. So
It's such a prime example.
no, it
Like
is
I'm
like
like,
everything is all, and you've been talking about it, Gio, but everything is absolutely connected. Everything, us as people, everything that's a part of this design is all intricately connected. And so, like ultimately, I think you were talking about it too. This healthcare CEO ended up finding his. Let me be
His
careful because
exit point
it's
very
thank
quickly.
you so much. Is because of their way of treating people who they recognize and taking advantage of. And sometimes I have my beef against healthcare, but or insurances because that like some people who may come for services don't get access to it as easily, or something tends to be a barrier to that process
we
too.
don't we don't need to get caught up in the semantics of it. It's just the point that what you're doing is you're finding a way to siphon energy through the concept of healthcare
Yeah,
with capitalism. And
capitalism.
that has a cause and effect. It's like we
Yeah,
don't need to like it's like you're not the scale is gonna shift itself back.
yeah.
And what people who politicians, all of them, they have to understand, you go run for the political. Do what you want. Show your
Yeah.
ass. But you're gonna always have to sleep knowing that you gotta look over your shoulder everywhere you go.
Yeah.
That is the karma of the position to live in. Those people that have what they perceive as a lot and access to certain things and around the world, their perception of thinking that they're better than someone, that is the karma.
Yeah.
Now that I live in this space and of mine, I'm like, I would never want to be you.
Yeah.
I, I did keep
Mhm.
all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Gio, as we're about to come to or the end of such a beautiful exchange and medicinal conversation, is there any last thing that you would like to share to anyone who's listening when it comes to navigating their mental health and their spiritual connection with self?
Yeah, I can give one more analogy. I've learned a lot of analogies. Analogies are like reflections, and the more you have, the more you keep thinking back and forth. Like it's repetition. Think of therapy like a periodic table, and he didn't know all of the elements,
Mm-hmm.
but he knew that they existed because of the amount of ions in each element. You keep adding them up. H,
Mm-hmm.
hydrogen, H2O. If you keep adding it, they keep, one out.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how you have to think of emotions. And that's what I realized, that I didn't have all the emotional tools in my periodic table. And the way
Mm.
I was dealing with problems, I can't use if I can't keep mixing. If you mix H2O with potassium, you'll have a fire.
Mm.
You
Mm-hmm.
get what you like.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to learn all of these different emotional tools to maneuver through situations. It's not just a one fixed thing. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with the tools of building the house. Like if I have a hammer, how you gonna isn't a paintbrush better to paint than a hammer?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you that is the point. It's for you to build. It's a language. And when you learn how to talk to yourself and how you show up for yourself and how you self-soothe, it improves yourself. You have to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to I look forward to my mental health now. I look forward to my ayahuasca visits. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have anything, it will ultimately break down if you don't stop and repair it and replace parts.
Absolutely.
You have to do that with yourself. And how do
Mm-hmm.
you know you're getting into a situation? How do you know your relationship isn't going the best? Because of the tension. The tension is the discernment. Like if you're not able
Yeah,
to communicate properly and you're blowing up quickly, that is the signal. And
that's true.
until you get to the point that you look forward to essentially situations or problems with yourself or your spouse, because you know that you're going to look for a way to remedy it. That's the end goal. You're not looking forward to arguing, you're looking forward to a way of remedying it. You're going to keep repeating and starting over from square one. You're going to
Yes.
stay in frustration. Frustration is discernment.
Yes,
You
yes.
sitting in that frustration, like that is the thing. Like I can't stay here. Oh,
Yeah.
like I'm a pop off on them. They don't know me. At some point, it's no longer cute, sweetie.
Uh, you gotta do something different.
Yeah, it's not cute after a while. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
know your
Well,
triggers.
know them, get familiar with them.
Yeah,
Um, well, Gio, thank you so much for
thank
coming
you,
here and sharing all your wisdom with us and serving as a reminder also as always for me. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, Gio?
thank you for having me. Until
Of
next
course.
time.
Until next time.